Hello everybody, welcome to the Wonky Angle, where I talk about electronic music, both new and old. And I have my Todd in the Shadows hoodie on, so that means it is Halloween. And today I am reviewing an album that is not actually Halloween themed at all, because I did not actually plan a video for Halloween this year, unfortunately. I mean, there is, like, some marginal relationship to Halloween, I suppose, in, like, 2 songs on this thing, but, yeah, this is a big stretch, and I'm very aware of it. I don't care. Today I'm talking about the new album from Scandroid, Monochrome. Okay, so Scandroid is one of many side projects of Scott Albert, aka Clayton, or as most people know him, Cell Dweller, and apparently also included Monster Cat producer Varian, although no longer does. And this project focuses on the synthwave genre. Now, I'll admit, synthwave is not exactly my favorite genre in the world, and it's no secret. I was introduced to it through Com Truise, and I found him to be more than a little underwhelming. Though a friend of mine recommended Dynatron to me, and I found that much more enjoyable. And a different friend of mine has been recommending Cell Dweller to me for quite a while now, and I kept forgetting to check him out. Might have to review his album from this past July at some point soon, but I digress. But yeah, when I reviewed Dynatron, while I liked it a lot, it convinced me that maybe synthwave had more to it, but I wasn't sure yet how much this genre was going to do for me aside from that. Because I'm just not really an 80s guy. I mean, I can enjoy 80s sounding stuff, and have quite a lot recently, but just sounding like 80s is not going to be enough for me to get into an artist or an album. There's no nostalgia factor for me. I grew up with more like 60s and 70s, and of course 90s techno, and once people heard me say in the Dynatron review how I didn't think the synthwave genre was all that great, like a bunch of people jumped up to yell at me, "Hey, if you listen to Scandroid, they will change your mind." Oh, okay. Listening to the entire back catalogs of Depeche Mode, Erasure, and OMD did not turn me into an 80s fan, but I figured can't hurt to check the guy out. After hearing the self-titled debut of Scandroid, my mind was not changed. It didn't sound exactly like Com Truise, like almost every track had lyrics from Clayton himself, whose voice very much resembled Coma Duster's, and a lot of it combined the more spacious, epic, and well-balanced sound that I heard out of Dynatron with metal elements. It was its own thing, and I suppose it was a creative twist on synthwave itself, and a fun listen with excellent production. But again, I thought the album was just good and not great. Thought it ran a little long, could have cut a couple of tracks, and didn't really pick up for me until the second half. Once it hit Empty Streets, the albums really started to grab me though, and the tracks Atom and EEV and Singularity were big standouts as well. So out of this follow-up album, Monochrome, I didn't have super high expectations. I had a feeling it was just going to be more of the same. After all, it's just a side project, and there's not really a reason for Clayton to reinvent the wheel. And unfortunately, as I suspected, Monochrome is basically the exact same album again. And honestly, I think it might be a less well-executed iteration. Monochrome is shorter, I'd be less likely to want to remove tracks, but it also has less variety. But again, that's not to say there's nothing to enjoy here. Like, just with the self-titled, the production is absolutely stellar from front to back. Most of these tracks are of the synth-pop variety, albeit with the super intense production. Like, you got tracks like Afterglow, Rendezvous, Future Bloodline, 1,000 Years, all very catchy and very good for what they are, though they don't really provide me with much of anything to discuss. Veil, though, does definitely have a pendulum immersion feel that I very much enjoyed, and the title track with its darker overtones stood out to me, and was probably my favorite of the straight original vocal tracks on here. There are thankfully a couple of instrumentals as well to break the mold. Oblivia, On the Face of the Deep, and Searching for a Lost Horizon are the 3 instrumentals. And of the 3, Oblivia is easily my favorite. Has the most detail... Trick-or-treaters. Ivy, shut up! Of the 3 instrumentals, Oblivia is easily my favorite. It has the most detail and texture. Searching for a Lost Horizon is also a decent closer to this album, as being a more subtle and stripped back piece, totally going for that Tangerine Dream vibe. I suppose to bookend with the album's intro, 2518. I guess could also link that track to Stranger Things, and that could be something Halloween related, I guess. And on The Face of the Deep, honestly isn't that much different from the other tracks on here besides its lack of vocals, though it is a lot of fun and regardless. Now, of course, I do have to mention that there are 2 covers on this album as well, and they kind of stick out like a sore thumb. I mean, the self-titled also covered a song from Tears for Fears, but I think that one felt a little more at home than these 2, probably because I'm not a Tears for Fears fan. Though by the same token, that also was not nearly as interesting a pick for a cover as these 2. Like, first of all, there's an interesting reworking of John Williams' The Force theme from the original Star Wars soundtrack. I mean, given the retro science fiction theme of this project, it doesn't feel that out of place, but it does catch me off guard when it comes up. Cool track, though. And of course, lastly, I have to talk about the only thing directly tying this album to Halloween, a cover of Michael Jackson's Thriller, of all freaking things. And also, this cover is easily the highlight of the album. It's quite faithful to the original and provides a more intense spin on it, as you'd guess. And it is a ton of fun. That being said, I'm admittedly not sure about how I feel about the fact that my favorite track on this album by far was a cover. I mean, it's a great cover, but it is still just a cover. Relying on arguably the most easily recognizable Michael Jackson track ever for the big standout on the album, half feels like cheating to me. I don't know. All that aside, while I admit I wasn't precisely blown away by this album overall, I will say I enjoyed it in the end. I'm sure I've sounded kinda nitpicky on an album that clearly isn't meant for brain usage, but rather just to pump you up. And yeah, I get it. It has that same kind of appeal for some people as Pendulum does for me. I fully understand the place and time for this album and the other Scandroid album, but it's really the kind of music I will need to be in the right mood to fully enjoy. I can see myself maybe picking and choosing a couple of tracks from the 2 Scandroid albums to put together in like a compilation for my iPod if I ever feel like doing that. I don't know if... But I don't think both are keepers in their entirety for me, personally. But what I do know is that if you like the first Scandroid album, you will like the second one as well, no problem, provided you're cool with more of the same. And yeah, I'm overall feeling a 7.3 out of 10. But of course, this is just my opinion. You can feel free to disagree with it, but I'd like to hear your thoughts, so leave the comments in the comment thing down there. I know a lot of people like this one a lot more than I did. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all for today. See you next time. Happy Halloween. Face the hounds of hell and rot inside.